population of Ecuador is estimated to be roughly 14 million people. 25% of that 14 million is indigenous peoples of Ecuador.
In Ecuador, oil exploration and mining projects have led to pollution and environmental degradation of indigenous lands. The state and private companies have failed to include or consider indigenous peoples throughout the planning of numerous development projects. The government has responded with violence and repression when indigenous groups demand to participate in these decisions.
Indigenous peoples living along the Colombian border have been negatively affected by drug trafficking, having become increasingly vulnerable to acts of violence, human trafficking, and sexual exploitation. Aerial spraying of crops has affected the health conditions and water supply of many indigenous peoples in Ecuador.
Illegal logging, oil and gas exploration, and mining has threatened the lives and livelihoods of many of Ecuador's indigenous peoples. This is particularly true for Ecuador's voluntarily isolated indigenous peoples, whose protected lands are being destroyed. Increases in external and internal indigenous migration, largely a result of deforestation and economic inequalities, has led to an increase in human trafficking, particularly of indigenous women and girls.
The banana is a very ecologically demanding species. It pollutes the air, water, and land. Land is cleared in order to make space for the banana plantations, but because banana trees shed no natural leaf litter to feed their soil, it depletes very quickly. Plantations therefore forced to expand, and problems associated with bananas productions grow. Deforestation and unhealthy soil cause erosion, and runoff causes frequent flooding and damage from sediment. Heavy pesticides can also cause problems. Over 400 types of agrochemicals are used. More chemicals are used during the banana production than any other crop, with the exception of cotton. These chemicals can lead to cancer and even death. Insects become resistant to many of these pesticides, therefore stronger, more toxic chemicals are needed. These chemicals affect mammals, birds, and plants, and the biodiversity of the area quickly disappears. Pesticides also destroy the possibility for pioneer plants and species to grow, and area dies. It is estimated that 30 kilograms of pesticides are used per hectare per year on a banana plantation, whereas only 2.7 kilograms are used for the average European cereal crop.
Bananas are grown as a monoculture, meaning that all the bananas on a plantation are genetically identical. Although this makes crops easy to manage, these bananas face an increased risk of being wiped out by a single type of pest, fungi, or disease. According to the World Wildlife Fund, the banana industry produces more waste than any other agricultural sector in the developing world. It's estimated that for every 1 ton of bananas produced, there are 2 tons of waste.
Banana trees only bear fruit once in their lifetime, so when the bananas are harvested, the trees are no longer useful, and the tree goes to waste. Although 30 to 40% of the bananas do not meet the standards and are thrown away. Most of this waste is poisoned with toxic pesticides and harm the environment. Although international environmental standards have been created in order to reduce these problems, many companies fail to follow them.